So you wait to hear from the competition authority if you've filed a complaint. Then you wait to hear what the complaint is, and we haven't had what the complaint is, so our legal team reached out to the competition authority and was like, look, they received thousands of vexatious claims, and so when you do make a complaint, you kind of have to back up your complaint, and they give you time to back up your complaint. I think it's 14 days or 30 days, something like that. Yesterday was a lapse of 30 days, so they don't have a full-on complaint, so there's no investigation and there's no suing. But I think what's pissing me off about this story is the intent, the actual intent. Because, and there's intent on multiple parts. The person who feels like, hey, I didn't get what I wanted, is very within their rights to do anything that they want, to seek redress, So you can't skip the person that you're complaining about and go to somebody else. That's a choice that you can make. But the person who then reports that story and creates this kind of perception that, they are being sold for millions and millions of shillings, and I wonder about the intent there. I wonder about the intent, and it kind of makes me, because I have no interest in back and forthing, also, as a journalist, you can run the story that you want to run. But there's something I find quite strange about that, our desire, our takedown culture. We want to take you down, we want you to suffer, we want to punish you. And I don't know if any of you read kind of the article, because I actually don't know the nature. We don't know the nature of the complaint. So if the article is to be believed, when you read through the nature of the complaint, like if you're pissed off that there's no network, as Kenyans, we know who owns network. So who would you be complaining about? Do you see what I'm saying, right? We know if there's a slow payment, of course it's a pain in the ass, we get it. And we deeply regret it, and it's terrible, and we work for months, and you bring in the right stakeholders, and the stakeholders actually provide the thing. It's not sufficient. Now you want to make a complaint. Who should that complaint be targeted? And there's some of those narratives, and I think that's something that Michelle was alluding to before, that because you are the person who is putting everything together, you'll catch flack for things that are not yours, and then you'll also catch flack for the things that are ours. But the kind of the intent in the way the story was framed, and then there's the other part of the intent. So now when we go into places and people want to be like, Mathoni, how are you doing? How are you really doing? You guys are you okay? You guys are, hey, I've read your being sued. Or I hope you guys are lawyered up for the lawsuit. And I'm like, there's a gossipiness, there's a maliciousness, there's an ugliness that Kenyans have, and we see it. If you're a Kenyan, you cannot pretend that you don't have an inner hater. That's kind of our default settings. And I really mean that. That's colonial legacy, and that's something that we don't really talk about. That's why you love Eliud Kipchoge when he's winning, and as soon as he's not winning, you're going to go and dunk on Eliud Kipchoge, right? As soon as somebody else passes, you're going to literally wake up to spend days insulting Kipchoge and calling Kipchoge's mom. I'm like, Kipchoge the goat? You know what I mean? There's an unkindness there, there's a meanness, there's a high key. I don't know how to explain it, but you know it. If you're a Kenyan, don't pretend. You know it because you literally have to catch yourself being a hater, right? You go somewhere and you catch yourself and you're like, is this warranted? Yeah, maybe my emotion is warranted. Is the way I'm speaking about this thing warranted? What is this intention to take down? And we have empathy. I think sometimes, and when we're looking at the situations, I'm like, yeah, when you've had not a good experience, and maybe you feel really disempowered in that moment, you want justice, You want the thing to be fixed, but the thing can't actually be fixed, so your next best option is take it down. I want to take down this thing. And there's something there that I think we should assess. The short version is there is no lawsuit. To the best of our knowledge, there has been no notification from the competition authority. I'd have been curious to know precisely how Blankets and Wine has acted in a way to hinder fair competition or competitive practices. So that narrative, I think that's really bothered me, and please, if you meet me, don't ask me about a lawsuit. If you want to show some empathy, say, hey, champ, it seems like you had a really hard production day, keep going, love it for you. If you want to talk to me about that, say that. Say that. Because I'm the man in the ring. You know, I'm the man in the ring. We're the championship team going from game 6 to game 7. So if you want to say something, acknowledge us, you know. I think
what I'm hearing from you, and I am so glad you've just worn your heart, because, you know, we want you to be okay, we love you, please, we want to see you smiling, you're always smiling, we never want to see you like stressed and like, but I think what we need is a culture of curiosity, right?
And care.
And care, because if we look at your track record, you have a track record that speaks for itself. And you've also shown in previous years that if something doesn't go right, you fix it, or you figure out a way to make sure it doesn't happen again. So your track record it speaks for itself, and for the narratives that come around, I think it would be important for all of us to just encourage each other to think, okay, if this happens and not just at Blankets and Wine, but you know, anything that happens, somebody makes a mistake, somebody blunders, instead of just instantly, we knew it, we can just be like, okay, so what's happening here? That wasn't cool. How can we help? Or what do you need to make it better? Or I don't know if I trust you because that didn't feel too good. I'll come back when I feel like, you know, like it doesn't have to be an extreme of bringing people down, I think is what I'm hearing from you, right? Justine, I know you wanted to say something. You were just like,
yeah, I think as the festival grows, the expectations are higher, right? And we want to be held accountable, but I think it's how you give us the feedback, right? If you don't give us feedback, structured feedback, we can't be able to do anything about it, right? If your experiences, and that's why we send a feedback form to ticket holders, we can't be arguing on social media about, oh, this went wrong, this went wrong. You know, it's easier to fix it if you tell us this has happened, and we can be able to tell you, okay, we can put a plan to fix this and this. As Madan said, some things go wrong that out of our control, right? We have a lot of people that we work with, that we bring in, who have certain areas that they run, and you know, at the end of the day, it will just be, oh, this happened at Blankets. So we take that, but we have, and that's when the feedback to be structured.
I think accountability is something that you guys take. Things will go wrong, but you also come and say, we heard you, this went like this, we heard you. For the brand, Michelle, how do you handle the challenges? Does that affect the overall Blankets and Wine brand? Do you feel like the narratives have changed anything? Do they make it harder for you to remind people what the brand is? Or is the brand strong enough as you see it to withstand?
Right, so I think there's two things in that. Yes, we are a brand. We are esteemed. Like, people know Blankets will be there for this period of time, and there's a standard that has been set about the brand. There's an expectation, right? So when something goes wrong, yes, people are bound to give their comments and their sentiments around it. And as Modoni was talking about it, I mean, how the feedback is given, Modoni and Justine, how the feedback is given and what the intent is about this feedback is what can either make or break a brand. Then again, also the team that is behind that, how do you receive this feedback? How do you interpret this feedback? Right, so from my point of view, I would say that yes, we are a strong brand. We have been there over time. And we are not about to shut down guys. There's still going to be a Blankets in December. So yes, we are receiving this feedback, and we're really just being strategic about how we can position our brand in a way that is able to be received well, standing for who we are, reminding people about what we are about. And I think That's the reason that we have put together this session, so that we can come in and unpack not just our legacy, who we are, where we started, and then now what is there for the future of the brand. So as a brand, we are still hatujatingizika, tumeguzwa, but hatujatingizika. We're still there, and we're still working towards improving and enhancing the audience experience, because we're not here on our own, for our own. We are here for the audiences, for the sponsors, and all the other people who believe in us.
Now you see, like, it's raining. Why couldn't you guys not stop the rain? Because it's affecting the sound waves. Like, blankets, you guys don't know how to, like, have an event with good sound without rain. Gosh.
These are hours for blankets.
I think I wanted to just kind of build on what Michelle said. I think another negative narrative, and I think maybe there's a question here around expectation, is instant gratification. That you've said this thing and therefore you want an instant response to the thing. I wonder, Michelle, if you can kind of, because we talked about this a lot, right? Because it's like, Justine just used the powers of blankets.
They took
Wonderful.
feedback.
Wow,
well done.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Yeah, because we were really talking about that, like, kind of what is an expectation? If somebody asks you for feedback, what is your expectation about a feedback loop, right? And I think so. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Just as you said, Loni, I think we have a culture of instant gratification. People want it now. So I have told you my problem, and I want you to give me an answer now. Right? So I feel like we need to kind of rewire ourselves, and for us as a team, we've really had to sit down and think, yes, people have their grievances. How are we going to respond about these grievances in a way that is offering the solution that they need? And even if we're not offering the solution, because we can't answer and we can't respond to everything, we give a response that now kind of backs who we are and what we're able to do, what we're not able to do, and what that means. So in terms of responding to feedback, we take time. We receive your feedback, we sift through it, we see what is within our control, what is not within our control. How do we now package a response based off of what you have shared? We can't do this in one day, we can't do this in 2 days, because we have like thousands of people who come for the festival and thousands of people who give their grievances and their feedback. So by the time we are receiving, reviewing, and finding out, okay, is this true? Is it not true? Was it on our part? Was it on somebody else's part? And then again, as a brand, even if it was not on our part, we cannot go and trauma for other brands. Even if maybe one of our partners was supposed to have done something and they didn't do it, we still need to figure out, because we represent many other brands. So how can we come back and give a response that shows that we have heard you, we are looking into these things, and this is what we are planning to do about the things that are within our control. So,
What is Blankets and Wine, and how did it come together?
Yeah, you're right. In the same high school where we were together, we did not knew that there was such this was in the cards, right? So my primary profession is music. I'm a musician. I sing, I rap, and I play a set of traditional drums. And very early in my music career, I was othered by this space, and I kind of found a system that only had space for artists who sound a particular way, whose music was doing a particular thing. And I felt that I had to exist as an artist, and so then if the space that is there doesn't accommodate you, you make your own space, and through the encouragement of friends and really people who believed in music, we built this platform, a space where artists, and especially artists who have been othered or who are not considered, can find a home for their music, and we can just sort of create a space where the audience and the artist can co-create the experience. As an artist, you have something to share, and as an audience, you have something to receive. The thing is, by the time we were getting into Blankets, we already, and by we, I mean myself and the other artists who are at that time sitting in this other box, who think Just a Band, Kwanaina, Sauti Sol. What we knew for a fact was when we played music to audiences, they liked it. And before before you're an artist, you're first a fan of music. And that idea of creating a space for a joyous communion around music where fans can just like drop your guard and you can sing with somebody who you don't know and you've never interacted with, but you're having this connection around this lyric that means so much to each of you. I thought it was something really sacred and worthwhile to dedicate my life to. And when the thing started, it really became clear to me that this is a service. We're providing a service for artists, we're providing a service for audience, people who need a day to suspend reality, to find and seek joy, to commune, to be in real life, to experience something. And I think there's another thing also around how we find things, like how do you discover things? At that, at that time when we started, everything was so kind of radio driven or club driven. There were no third spaces for, like, if I'm not in the bar and if I don't listen to this radio sound, where will I find something that will inspire me? Where will I hear something new? Where will I experience something new? I remember very early making quite a call that this is a place where you can wear whatever you want, because also we belong to a space that is like very, it tells you what you should wear. It tells you how you should look. It tells you who is acceptable and who is not acceptable. So we're like, we want to use music to build a little paradise, actually. A place where you come, the thing that has brought you is music, the thing that you will celebrate is music, the thing that you will be immersed in is music, but bring your whole self, bring your fashion, bring your friends, bring your family, discover something new, share that experience with somebody, and feel love. Just feel love, be loved on. Because also a lot of the spaces where music is created or shared in, they're not made to love you. They're not made to love artists. Actually, a lot of the places where music is played, music is this, it's like TNT, right? There are places that are designed to extract money from your pocket and to numb you from your pain with, variations of things. And music is always kind of like the afterthought. And you can check it today wherever you go to your local. Just look at what have they thought about music? How is music actually meant to be presented? So we wanted to make a space where you can actually feel love, and so Blankets in Mind for us is all these things. It's now actually about vocation. All the time we're like, what's happening? Why are we still here? There's such a vocation to this work. There's such an intentional practice of love for the artists and for the city and for ourselves. Because also, I don't know, there's not a lot of things that allow us to dignify ourselves. We were not taught to love ourselves. We were not taught to love your music. You were not taught to love your local language. You were not taught to take great pride in who you are. You were not taught to try and to be audacious in your attempt to try. In Kenya, we are taught to succeed. Only succeed. And you should be ashamed if you try and then it doesn't work, and that's not true. An artist's life is trying. You try 1,000 times before you get, one chord on the guitar right, and then you try 1,000 more times before that thing enters your brain. And so the art practice itself is a space of trying and a space of experimenting and a space of growing. And the art practice and the spiritual practice and the music practice are kind of all wrapped up into what Blankets and Wine is for me.
I mean, it's very evident. You live, breathe. MDQ, Blankets and Wine is the same thing, right? A lot of people have that conception.
No, it's not the same thing. It's really not the same thing. It's an extension of, but I put the same amount of care into that as I put into making, a piece of art. To me, it's the same creative energy, and it's for the same things. I'm interrogating the same things. How far can you go? What can you try? What can you experiment? How can this be better? How can you get clearer? It's the same thing, but it's not the same person. And suddenly there's other people who have other opinions about what blankets is for them.
That's true, and I'll let everybody actually describe for themselves, because where I was going with it, people say blankets and Modoni is the same thing. For me, it feels like it's something that you birthed, and it's a child who's grown, and you've allowed that child to just try all these things. Oh, mom, I want to do this. You do it, and then the more things that grow, the more the child grows, you're just there also supporting and pouring into it. And it feels like the village that you have curated is also growing this child into such a powerful, powerful child and adult. Justine, you're very, very hands-on. You've been there for as long as Blankets and Wine can be remembered. Please tell us, to you, what is Blankets? What is Blankets and Wine?
I think I'll speak on the operation of blankets and what it stands and how it stands in the economy of the creative economy. You know, when blankets runs, really, it's an ecosystem. It's an economic ecosystem for us, essentially. So from the artists that we book, the suppliers, the amount of money that runs when the festival runs, that there's jobs, there's food on the table for somebody. So when I think about it, I think about it as like a little ecosystem that runs on that one day with suppliers, vendors, small businesses, the vendors, artists have hired their bands, stylists, makeup artists. You know, it's really, that really for me that's what stands out in what we do, really. The support that what we struggle with every single day that we're trying to plan and we do really trickles down to so many people, and there's so much money that runs and supports, and really that really speaks to what we wish to do when we run it.
An ecosystem, an economic ecosystem, and for that one day that Blankets happens, there's lots of money that is flowing around, and it is ensuring that there's people who get to put food on their tables.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It proves that culture is not just expression, or it really is a business. There is an industry, there's need to invest in it because there's actually money that can come out of it.
Michelle?
Right, so I think for me, I'd take a different approach in responding to that question. I'm not as old as much of the team is to the group, so I'll respond from an outside point of view. So before I joined the team, Blankets would just be known for being a gig and events. People would even call it a concert. But now when you're on the inside and you look at all the elements that go into it, you're thinking culture, what does culture mean? You're thinking there's food, there's experience, there's artists, there's putting together a festival, there's all these production elements. So for me, I feel like this is just a whole ecosystem that operates to create a space for people to experience fun, joy, and connection. So for me, I'd say Blankets is basically just a platform that creates a space for everybody to just experience joy. And joy just basically means, that whole mix of the music, the connections with people, lots of people get to meet the loves of their lives at the festival, So it's just a space where people can come and connect and enjoy and have joy together. So for me, that would be my picture of what Blankets is.
I love that. And it's so interesting you mentioned people come and meet the loves of their lives. I can tell you everybody updated just by virtue of the Blankets and Wine timeline. Tayana, also this guy, I remember this one, and all of them, Mamba Village, Zote. And I'm sure there are people who met at Blankets and today they have a 15-year-old child. Yeah? Diane, what is Blankets and Wine to you?
Right, so for me, Blankets is just, as the brand, very intentional and passionate about community. Because for us, getting to these 16 years, we couldn't have done it without the community that continuously supports us. And so being able to create a space, as Modoni had said, that's inclusive, like come as you are and meet, your tribe, meet your peeps. And also just the whole element of connecting offline, because we're like in a digital era, like
were on socials and everything, but now here's this festival where you can come and intentionally meet people, interact with brands, you know, discover new music, discover new products, and all of that. So for me, it's just the whole element of community, a space for people to come, enjoy, you know, get that joy and happiness, and just commune. So I would say that's what Blankets is for me.
And I think it's so important actually what you said about connecting offline, because you know, even with my family, we live like 10 minutes away from each other, but sometimes we'll go a month, 2 months, we're not seeing each other, but because we're talking on WhatsApp and sending memes on Twitter and Instagram, we feel like we're seeing each other. So there's people who I know, if I go to Blankets, I would see them, which is such a wonderful thing, I think, to reflect on. Yeah. I'm gonna mix up the questions a little bit just because we have somebody who needs to leave in about 10 minutes. So this is a question for Sandra, who is with the British Council, but she's also someone who was there from day one. And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure you were hosting with the Kule at Tayana, you know, way back when. But this question is, you know, to Sandra, you know, the British Council has long been an ally in cultural exchange and a key player in the export of culture and creative economy development. So from your perspective, what role does the British Council see culture and creativity playing in shaping international collaboration today, particularly between Kenya and the UK? And I have to say, this is 2025 is the first year Blankets and Wine went Bradford. I struggled with that word. I've been struggling. Bradford. Yeah, Blankets and Wine ilifika majuu. Sandra, tell us.
This microphone doesn't want to be on so far. But hello, everybody. Hi. My name is Sandra Cheke. I'm head of arts at the British Council, and I'm also the director of the UK Kenya season, which is on now, and is part of the collaboration that Blankets and Wine had this year in Bradford as part of the UK City of Culture. So I think the value of collaboration is endless. And the reason that we do the work that we do to facilitate these kinds of collaborations is because we recognize different elements of what has been mentioned by everyone on stage. There's a part there that is about community and othering that happens. There are often assumptions that people from elsewhere are just different, better, worse. You know, we come with our preloaded perceptions and stereotypes about the other, and once we get to experience each other through culture, a shift happens. It might be subtle, but it's there, and it changes how we think and it changes how we view the world, and that's one of the values of collaborations like the one that we had. It also has an impact on the economy, as Justine has mentioned. When we think about access to market, which is one of the things that we're very interested in at the British Council, is how do creatives find their audiences and their customers, wherever they might be in the world. How do you prepare for an international collaboration or opportunity and land softly through deliberate programming that is thoughtful, that is generous, that is about artistic integrity and practice, so that the artists also get to explore their craft and really think about why they're doing what they're doing and what it means to them personally, but also what it means to their communities. So there are very many different facets when we think about international collaboration, and I think that's why this partnership with Blankets and Wine has been really interesting, because there's also the additional question of shifting narratives of Kenya in the UK and the UK in Kenya. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing to see the kind of reception contemporary work from Kenya received in Bradford in September, because it's a rare event. Primarily because just the thinking of the perception of what it means to do work abroad and collaborate with your peers there is a little alien. We don't have that level of integrated, collaborative practice from design to delivery often. So that is part of the joy of this kind of international collaboration, and I'm really excited to see Blankets do more in the future.
Hallelujah. Yes. Thank you so much. And I think it's great to appreciate, even though sometimes it can feel like, okay, why do we need others to then come and tell us, actually, what you're doing is great, we'd like to support that. I think it's a beautiful thing to think of the collaborations that cut across borders, because at the end of the day, a musician in South Africa, in Algeria, in Bolivia, in the UK, the drive to create is the same. Whatever comes out could be different, it's different languages, but we all understand the language of music. So I think it's such a beautiful thing to see that such partnerships are so meaningful to spaces like these. Thank you so much. Now, 16 years. 16 years. I come from the time of Beats of the Season Festival. I don't know if you remember that. And it seems to be the only festival I can remember. Then after that came Sawa Sawa, and then Blankets. Kuna yenye nimesahau? I feel like everything else came after Blankets. 16 years, how do you keep something like Blankets and Wine going for 16 years? And you are stronger than ever, bigger than ever. You're still doing the thing. We've survived a global pandemic, and you're still going. How do you do it? How have you done it? And why have you kept going? Madhani?
Yeah, that's really a good question. And indeed, we did survive a global pandemic. Sometimes we forget that. Yeah, we forget that. So two things. The first one is our absolute commitment to the thing that we do, which is platform music, platform work, platform work, platform work. Just figure it out. You just work through it. For sure. It is not money that has kept us going. It is not popularity. It is not potential. It's kind of just that devotion to the work, devotion to the mission. This work we do is mission for us. It's truly mission. And somebody's got to build the thing, and we are the man in the ring building the thing, so just continue, right? And the second part, I think, is because we've never deviated. The thing has always been three things. It's artistic programming, it's production, and it's community. It's those three things. What has happened over the years is, each pillar becomes deeper, wider, more people, but there is no deviation from the plan. It's artistic programming and having incredible integrity around that. It's production. It's just learning, figuring, doing, working within the confines of what we have and making the best, of what we have at every opportunity. And then it's just building out the community, and we've seen that grow because initially it was just our friends, and friends brought friends, and friends brought brands, and brands brought partners, partners brought media. It's just kind of that thing that, that's how I would say. Yeah.
And wait, you said the how, but the why. Why is it that we are sitting here saying we are also going to talk about what's coming next?
Yeah, because I think this is what I mean, the devotion to the work, because we deserve it. Because the artists deserve a platform that honors them and puts them first, and audiences deserve a platform to discover. In fact, I don't know if we can already see how, as human beings, we are kind of effed by the algorithmic world that's around us, right? The algorithms are deciding what you see, what you think, what your opinion about a particular topic is. The algorithm will pick a topic and make it that's the topic, that's the thing that we're talking about. There is going to be an ever-increasing need for spaces for human beings to interact in real life. Right now, if you're listening to music like on one of your favorite platforms, honestly, you don't know what is AI music and what is human music. The idea of music, the thing that carried you when you were grieving your mom, you don't know if that song is a person or an algorithm. That's an insane thing. So just kind of understanding that we must hold space for human beings and we must hold space for creativity. We must create a space for wow. The human spirit requires a moment of wow, a moment of wonder, a moment of freedom. Like whatever is going on in your life at that day, on the day called Blankets and Wine, you are allowed to suspend reality and just be present to that thing and to feel the energy of 5,000 people jamming to a DJ song that you've never had, that you didn't know, but actually even you, you're in the vibes. Those things are spiritual. They are the essence of being a person. And music spaces are very much owned by corporations. And even some of your favorite artists are very much owned by corporations. And so somebody has got to make the space for music to be free, for imagination to be free, for human expression in its messiness, in its clumsiness, in its totality to be free. And Blankets and Wine is that space.